No need to fear.
I think everybody knows that the music industry is in trouble, and the internet has been a blessing and a curse. At the same time that the internet has made it easier than ever for artists and musicians to do it themselves, I also think the internet has generated a situation where the consumer is almost swamped with choice. Everybody's in a band, everybody's running a venue, everybody's running a record label, everybody's a blogger, everybody's some form of media outlet on the internet, whether it's a website or a mailing list, or, you know, there's so much going on the internet. I think there's a whole new generation of people who are growing up now who ignore, you know, a huge percentage of what they see on the internet every day. And it's harder than ever for artists to really cut through and be noticed. And there are 1,000,001 techniques to market and promote yourself on the internet. And I come across all these websites and so-called experts that talk to bands about, you know, this is the way to sell your music, this is the way to promote your music, this is the way to work your music on the internet. You know, you are a business, you have to run your music in this way. But I think, you know, the internet has just confused the issue. And to me, you know, as an artist, as a musician, you know, you need to write your music, rehearse your music, record your music, tour and perform your music, and everything starts with those 4 things. I think the internet is a really useful tool to add on to what you're already doing. And in the days of old, I used to organise gigs and put together flyers and posters and ring round my friends and get them to come and see the show. And when the internet came along, I used that as well. But I think now people almost use the internet as the sole means of promoting, and they think that, you know, a mailing list, a website, their engagement on the internet, or the engagement of their target market on the internet is the only way forward. And I think many musicians have almost been blinded by the choices and the opportunities that the internet presents to them. And I think particularly in this country, you know, alternative music is in all sorts of trouble. And you know, when I was younger, I used to go hunting for music magazines or fanzines, or I'd listen to John Peel, or I'd speak to my friends at gigs, or I'd seek out record shops, or there was a whole way that I would track down new music. You know, I used to do tape trading, and, you know, I used to send tapes here, there and everywhere. I used to talk to people in different parts of the world about the music that they were interested in, where they were from. And there was ways you could find the music that was interesting, or the music that was new. But now, it's almost like the death of scarcity has happened. You know, there's infinite music. You can get anything from anywhere. You can get it for free. You can listen to it for free. You can download it for free. You know, Facebook, Twitter, all of these things have made it really easy for people to access pretty much anything. And I think people are blinded by choice. They can't see what's going on. And, you know, particularly in this country where, you know, if you're a live band, most of the shows that I take bands to, because I work as a tour manager and a driver for bands anyway, so I go to a lot of gigs, those bands are relying on ticket sales on the door as the sole source of their income. It's often shared between 3 bands on the bill. When I take bands to Europe, quite often the money that the bands get paid is a share of the ticket sales on the door, but it might be the share of sales of food, if the venue does food. It might be a share of the beer sales. There might be some government funding or support for the venue that will contribute to that. And of course, you know, those venues do have a degree of interaction on the internet. They use the internet as well as what they're doing with the venue itself. But to me, a lot of the venues that I visit in Europe still seem to rely heavily on their own network, building their own network and doing what they do properly and doing what they do thoroughly in the region where they operate. And in this country, you know, for one reason or another, something has really changed. And you know, for example, you know, when John Peel died, I think a lot of the things that John Peel contributed to alternative music or new music, it was like somebody switched out a light. And I don't think John Peel has really been replaced. You know, there's plenty of DJs that work for radio stations that try and duplicate the work that John Peel did, and I can think of a couple of DJs in Birmingham that you know, try very hard to give new music a chance and try and generate alternative playlists for listeners to listen to. But again, you know, the internet has muddied the waters, and the consumer's just been swamped with just infinite choice. So I speak to a lot of bands on my travels, and you know, they're always saying to me, you know, what can we do to make our music better? What can we do to make more money? How do we make a success of our business? And you know, I always say to them, I said, look, you know, don't ask me how to do your music better, because that's your job. You have to think of a way to do what you do better. And again, it comes down, you know, to my view that doing it yourself is half the battle, but doing it properly is far more important. And I think if you're going to do it properly, sometimes it doesn't mean endlessly running websites and mailing lists and going to online consultants for help and advice with your music. It's looking at, you know, what do I do? What do I want to do? Where am I operating? You know, how am I going to, you know, make my music reach a wider audience? And you know, if you're a band operating in Birmingham and you know you're never going to tour in Europe or whatever, then concentrate on doing your music in Birmingham and look at what you're doing and look at how you can make that work for your band, because everybody's different. You know, the bands I work with, we tend to go to Europe purely because, you know, in my opinion, there still seems to be an interest in alternative music in Europe, and you know, as I said, the venues seem to be a lot more able to support new bands because they have multiple sources of income. So, you know, if my band goes and plays to 10 people, we'll get €200. And similarly, if we end up playing to 400 or 500 people, we still might only get €200, but at least there's some sort of entry-level support for new music. Whereas in this country, you know, the same band, you know, we're lucky to earn 50 quid, and it's like pulling teeth to get people to come to the gig. And again, you know, people, I think, are just swamped with choice, and they're just using the internet as their sole source of, you know, finding out about new music or what have you. So yeah, I think you know, it's too easy to be blinded by the infinite opportunities. And I would always say, you know, if you're going to do it yourself, do it properly, but don't go to others all the time for advice on what to do with your music. You know, think about what you're doing yourself, think about the people around you, think about what you're actually doing and how you want to do it. And don't be worried about making money. I think, you know, again, the biggest mistake that a lot of bands make is they make music because they think they're going to make money. And the truth from what I see is I don't meet musicians that are earning good money from music. You know, somebody was quoting me, 80% of musicians registered in this country with the PRS earn less than £15,000 a year. So 80% of musicians are earning, you know, not a lot of money from their music. So I think, you know, certainly if you're starting out, you've got to have a source of income that's away from your music. And again, I think, you know, if you've got a source of income that's away from your music, it means you can make the music for the love of it, for the joy of it, and you can do it properly, and you're not blinded by, will people like me? Will people like this music? Am I able to be successful and turn my band into a business? You know, forget that. You should make music because you love it. You should make music because you enjoy it. And, you know, you find your audience because people will beat the path to the door because they go, right, this is someone who's making music they love, and they're good at doing what they love, and I want to access that. So I think making you know, making music in the hope that you're going to make money out of it is the first mistake. And I think, again, going back to doing it properly, if you're going to make music, you know, do it properly and it will stand the test of time. But if you rush out trying to do your music and, you know, you don't make an effort to record it properly, rehearse it properly, if you don't go out and tour, then ultimately, you know, you're not going to be doing anything really that you know, a successful artist would do as standard. So, you know, that's my view on that.